You're not plugging the sound in?
We never got the thingy.
Well, go get the thingy.
I'm gonna go get the thingy.
You were supposed to have it set up. We
did.
are live, but we are not ready.
You were standing in front of the...
Somebody did not get all of the equipment. And apparently that somebody was me.
I guess I should have pushed you out of the way.
Oh, now. It was working anyway. Is the sound better now that there was nobody to compare it to? Ricky was there. So, now he has to hit all his buttons and everything. Just going to throw us way early because we don't have a lot of show for you. I don't know. We're going to see if we can pad it, I guess.
Well,
but
there we go. Yeah, I'll hit some buttons and...
hit some buttons while I sit here and yak at whoever's in here besides Ricky. I see Ricky. I wasn't sure who else was in here. But we are back to give you the lowdown on what's going on around town here at the Guild. So
here at the good old Grove Gamer.
Monster, because my behind is tired and everything in between it and the top and the bottom. So
sounds tired.
Yeah, I'm just wore out. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the COVID thing. So we will be talking about...
Yeah, the nasty C word.
Yeah.
We couldn't stay away from it forever, sadly.
No, we could not. So that is one of the things you'll be hearing us talk about. Again, I'm letting him hit buttons, so I'm just... Hey, there's an Ivan.
Hey, Ivan.
You feeling better? I know you were aiming towards poorly last week, so...
Oh, sorry to hear that.
I hope that he's feeling better. Maybe he'll hit up in chat there.
I need to run into him at some point. I'm thinking about building a group hug deck, and he seems like the expert around here to talk to.
I'm just trying to get some pages pulled up here ready to go when he gets all them buttons hit.
Yeah, just about done now.
Anyways, yeah. We've got a couple things that we can go over.
There has been things happening.
So anyway, looks like we have enough people for me to go. Welcome back, Gildikins, because that's what I'm calling you now. And hold on tight for another jam-packed.
Jelly.
Although I do like a jelly-packed donut.
Yeah.
You don't get
like those raspberry jelly.
Yeah, you don't get jam-filled donuts. Nah. You get jelly-filled donuts.
So seeds would be weird.
We're jelly-packed.
We're jelly-packed.
We're going to be jelly-packed episode. Chatter to the Squirrels. This is number 83.
Yes.
Did I put it right?
83.
83. And you're done hitting your buttons like a madman.
Yeah.
And I've kept you entertained marginally for a couple minutes until he got done so that he can be the persona.
Here I am.
Anyway, this week is pretty normal.
Yeah.
Not
really.
Not.
Things
Zendikar Rising drops tomorrow, so that's an exciting thing. If you got a chance to come out and play a little bit of pre-release last weekend, great. If you didn't, you could take it home. I have more kits. You can still pick some up and still try it at home or whatever. And there has been, I'm going to have some pre-release kits. I will have commander decks for sale, and I will have packs for sale, and a very few booster boxes.
Yeah.
No set booster boxes, just draft booster boxes. Because set booster boxes, I got allocated severely, as my pre-order people know. I got basically one box for every case I ordered.
Yeah, that's about right.
1/6, approximately. My guy did end up finding me one extra box. Woo!
Yeah, well, it is another box.
4 out of 18 or 20 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So anyway, hopefully the second wave will catch up that. Bundles, we don't know where they're at. They're MIA, but we knew they were going to be MIA.
Yeah, the bundles, we kind of had an idea.
So anyway, but I do have some pre-release kits. If you want to buy those, there's 6 packs in there, so it's like half a bundle. Pick up a couple, plus you get a pre-release card. We've got the commander decks. Like I said, we got that. We will be doing some drafts. Tomorrow night is Friday night, so we're going to do a draft like we always do when a new set drops. And then on Saturday, we're going to do turbo drafts at 2, 4, 6, and 8. Turbo drafts means as soon as we get at least 4 people who want to draft, between 4 and 8, we will fire a pod. We'll draft. We'll play 1 round. Winners win a pack. Losers can cry.
Yeah. There's a crying chair back there.
I'll drop some how do you do's to everybody because I can't give out promo cards. So I will be finding a way to get those promo cards to you.
Yeah.
Because I did get the promo packs for Zendikar season. I'm allowed to tie those to sealed product sales. Right now I'm looking at giving those out with I still got some mystery boosters left.
Ooh.
Thinking about giving those out with some mystery boosters packs.
I didn't even realize you still had.
I still have a few, not a lot, but a few. So stay tuned on that. I'm going to be giving those out. Hey, he's feeling great. Good deal.
Good.
So anyway, be watching for that. But we will be doing. And tomorrow and Saturday are going to be pretty much normal. Now, that's when starting next week, October 1st, I guess technically September 30th, because that's the first day I'm open next week.
Wednesday.
I am going to be, well, if you don't know, your head's under a rock, but the COVID-19 finally got to little old Mountain Grove, where we had as few as 34 people in Mountain Grove had it, and a lot of those had been in the previous month.
Right.
At the beginning of this month, September 2nd, only 34 people had COVID in Mountain Grove.
So far for the whole thing.
As of yesterday, 123.
Yep. And it's...
I'm not going to compare this to any place else, just Wright County.
Yeah.
I do take a look at Texas County, Douglas County, and Howell County when I'm looking at numbers. Everybody's spiking up. It's here, guys. And as I've been saying all along, I'm going to do something when it gets here, and it's here. Next week, I will be closing at 9 o'clock on Fridays and Saturdays.
Yep.
Or as soon as the event for that night ends. Masks will be required.
Yes.
When you enter the store. I'm not asking that you wear them. I'm requiring that you wear them.
No shirt, no shoes, no mask, no service.
No smoking.
Just that simple.
No problem. If you have a problem, it's within your right, and I respect the right that you take your business down the road.
Yep.
But if you're going to do business in here, you'll wear a mask. Or I can come out to the curb and bring stuff to you.
We can do curbside drop-off like we did before.
I will do a curbside drop-off. That's perfectly fine if you don't want to wear a mask inside the store. So that's what's going to be happening. Now, the thing that I've read so much about is viral load.
Yes.
And viral load is the thing that I'm going to try to combat, but still leave room for us to play some Magic.
Yeah.
So, board game night, when we have it, the second weekend of the month, will be from 6 to 9, and that's it.
No
just
adult
3
board
hours.
game afterwards.
Yep. On Commander nights, we're still going to do Commander nights on Thursdays from 6 to 9, thereabouts when the game ends. On Friday nights when we start at 7, if we do a draft, we're going to try one of 2 things. The first thing we're going to try is we're going to try best of 1.
Yeah.
So we're going to draft, and that takes 45 minutes or so by the time we draft, build decks. And then we're going to try 20-minute rounds. We're going to play 4 or 5 20-minute rounds.
Depending on number of participants.
One game round, so no sideboarding. It's limited. Very seldom do you get much that you can sideboard. We're going to try that, and we're going to try to get done in about 2.5 hours and be done with it. If it's constructed on Friday nights, then we're going to do 40 minutes, 2 hours, plus, the overruns because we may have some draws. If you're not satisfied or happy with that, you can go to another friendly local game store that provides different.
Yes.
That's fully within your right. Most of them aren't doing anything.
Right.
We're going to try this and see how it works. You may be going, well, heck, only 2 or 3 hours. Yeah, but I'm in here all day. My wife's in here all day. You can make the argument that we're on the list of people who are marginal. And so I'm trying to keep that viral load down.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. We're going to play. We're still going to have it available for you.
Yep.
I'll do curbside for anybody that wants it. So
we're still going to be here. We're still going to play Magic, guys. It's just going to be, we're going to have to limit it.
Yep.
We're not going to be playing Commander till 1 a.m. anymore in the shop.
There'll be no Commander after hours.
No.
When I close up at 9, I'm getting out of here because by then, whatever viral loads in here has been in here.
Yep.
And right now, it's getting thicker.
Yep. And
I'm not going to politicize this. I'm not going to chastise anyone for their views, but please research even what.
Please.
If you believe one way, it doesn't hurt to know what the other fella thinks. I try to look at both sides personally. So that's what's going to be going on with it. Mask hours, we're going to close up at 9 or as soon as the event's over on Fridays and Saturdays. 40-minute rounds for constructed events. If people don't like the best of ones, we can do turbo draft style.
Right.
So we can also do that. Alan thought that it'd be better to play, four games of Magic than to play best 2 out of 3 and be done.
Right. I prefer best of 3 over best of 1, but when we have to limit what we're able to do, I think everybody would enjoy getting the most games of Magic in.
You get to play 4 different people.
Yeah.
I will rework the prize pool. It will not be the same as it is now. Winning one game is not going to win you a pack.
Right.
I have not done that yet, but I will before our first one. I think that's it. Is that all the stuff?
That's all the... Yeah, I believe so.
And that's the reason why I'm doing it. I'm a private business. I can require you to wear a mask.
Yeah.
If you've got an issue with it, again, you're a private citizen. You don't have to do business with me, and I'm okay with that. It's a free country. I'm exercising my freedom. You guys exercise yours in the way that you see fit. But like you said, no shirt, no shoes, no smoking,
no mask, no service.
mask, no service.
Yeah.
All right, Alan, you got something? I'm gonna pull up.
Yeah, I saw you pulling this up. I didn't actually. I heard that some stuff happened, but I don't actually even know what all happened with
Well,
this.
I didn't go deep on it, but every set they do a comprehensive rules update and they do Oracle changes. None of the Oracle changes were major. For the comprehensive rules, what I thought was interesting that we needed to hit on is that, and this is just an overview. I'm not going deep here. A new rule at the end of the token section to talk about tokens that enter the battlefield as a result of a copy of a permanent spell resolving. A new thing as of Zendikar Rising. Those tokens are not created. So they won't interact with cards that care about creating a token. Sorry, doubling season. So when you create, well, you don't create.
Right.
When you make a token with one of these spells,
When
it
you
creates
copy.
When you make a copy, it doesn't create. Therefore, doubling season.
Yep.
Let's see, down here they mentioned again, anointed procession.
Yep.
None of these things work, guys. So just keep that in mind. You're not creating, so you're not going to double up with doubling season effects.
Right. You're copying, not creating.
And then there was a couple others I was going to hit on. They updated the double face cards. We've been talking about those a lot on Reblogatog if you ever watch or listen to that. But a lot of changes here. To summarize, there are now 2 kinds of double face cards. Transforming double face cards, that's TDFCs. And the new modal double face cards, MDFCs. They have a lot in common, but each has a defining trait of sorts. Transforming double face cards are the only cards that can transform on the battlefield or enter the battlefield transformed. Modal double face cards are the only cards that can be played or cast with either face up. Other rules that deal with double face cards were changed accordingly. Some rules that applied to all double face cards now apply only to transforming double face cards. And some rules were updated to explain how to handle both kinds.
Gotcha.
So make sure you're up to date on how those work when you start playing with the new modal, the MDFCs.
Especially if you have decks in older formats where you're playing both kinds.
So some tweaks to these rules that explain how the converted mana cost of a double face permanent is calculated. Used to be that a double face permanent with its back face up used the mana cost of the front face to determine its converted mana cost. Now that's true of transforming double-face permanents only, not MDFCs, just TDFCs. The converted mana cost of a modal double-face permanent at MDFC is determined using the mana cost of the face that's up.
Huh.
Whatever face is up. Now, right now, the only face that can be up is a land. But that's going to change probably in Kaldheim or Strixhaven.
No, a couple of these are creatures on the other side.
Are they creatures?
There's a couple of them that are creatures and then a land on the back.
So whatever is the face upside, that's what has the converted mana cost.
Yeah, that's interesting. I knew there would probably be some updates for double face stuff, obviously, with modals hitting, but I didn't know.
If a merged permanent contains any transforming double face cards, transforming that permanent will cause each of those double face cards to turn to their other face. If a merged permanent contains modal double face cards and no transforming ones, transforming that permanent has no effect. Again, this because we've got meld out there.
Yep, meld.
So be sure you know how these things work, and we'll all learn all about it together. That cannot be right. That says that my wife is watching, and she should definitely not be awake right now.
Well, it looks like she is. Hi, Mom.
You got to be up in 4 hours. Go back to bed.
You're exaggerating slightly. It's like 4.5. Well, guys, a few other things to hit on real quick. Like I said, we are going to go over our rares and mythics out of Zendikar Rising. We went over commons, uncommons last week. So we're going to go over bombs, essentially, this week. We kind of gushed about them a couple weeks ago, but we'll go over them a little bit more. A few other things I wanted to hit on news-wise. If you guys have been catching any news, 2 days ago now, there was a by WotC that said we are monitoring the state of standard. Update will be coming after the weekend, is essentially what it said. That was 5 days into the cards being released on Arena, 2 days before they're even released to the paper world.
Yeah, paper players take note. Arena's been playing with it for a week.
Yeah.
They've already busted it.
Yeah. So
we don't get to do that. Digital got to bust it.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I don't know what's going to happen. They broke some things, it seems. I don't know. I've mentioned this before in the past. That all the bans they had of all the other stuff that was too powerful, are we going to hit the point where those powerful things are supposed to keep the new powerful things in check? I don't know. Were you supposed to Elk Omnath? I don't know.
Hard to say. Just have fun. Play it and have fun. There's always going to be a best thing.
There's always going to be a best thing. I do believe there is a possibility, not because of the power level of the card, but because of the tracking of the card and digital issues, we may see something happening to Scoot Swarm. Apparently, I've seen multiple pictures of board states with someone rattled off the max number of copies you can make before the game just says no.
Well, the digital game. In paper, you might just have somebody go...
Yeah. Someone might just scoop, hopefully, in paper, be like, that's too many. All right. It makes copies, and the copies make copies, and the copies make copies, and when you're able to drop 3 or 4 or 5 lands in a turn...
You can Cinderclass them away, right?
If you kick it, I think, right? Because aren't they two twos? Or
they're 1/1s.
They're 1/1s? Okay, yeah, then you can Cinderclass them away.
Cinderclass them away.
Yeah.
They don't have haste, and if they give them haste, you got an issue.
Yeah. Speaking of Cinderclasm, really good. Lotus Cobra, guys. Lotus Cobra doesn't need a ban. We've seen this card before. It's very good, especially when you can ramp a lot and drop a lot of lands. But it dies to everything. Literally everything. So, play play Cinderclasm and play the red modal land spike Field Hazard or something.
I saw where people were doing that.
Yeah, there are... Lotus Cobra dies to everything.
Does 1 point. It'll kill Lotus Cobra.
And exiles it on top of that.
Yeah, and exiles it. So, no Nissa-ing it back, if that's a thing.
Right. So, There are things to do. It is a powerful set. There are powerful cards, but we don't always need to rush to the ban unless something is actually broken. I will say that I think Omnath, I haven't got to play with the card, but just looking at it, it reads very, very powerful. If mana is so easy that you can always cast a 4-mana spell on turn 4 or before in the standard, then I understand that text is very powerful. So, but that's all I wanted to hit on standard, really. On what
we haven't got to play any, so I don't really have much to say.
I haven't played
I'm just
any.
parroting what I read, and I didn't get to read much. I've been super busy getting Zendikar set up and processing 350,000 plus cards. So
Yeah.
and I'm still 340 some thousand cards from there. So
In that area, yeah. It goes slow when there's that many. But I think we want to go ahead, maybe a shorter night this week, but I think we want to hit on a few of the rares, mythics from this set, about the juicy goodness. Do you want to talk about the
pathway lands?
You want to talk about the pathway
Let's
lands
start
first?
with the lands.
Yeah.
The pathway lands, they're fine.
They're fine. Yeah.
I still don't see them as great, but I haven't played with them yet, so I'm willing to check that out.
Right.
But they're fine.
They're fine.
They're going to give you options, so I don't see a problem with them at all.
No.
Put them in your decks.
They're not overpowered. I don't believe they're underpowered either. I think they're fine.
We're gonna call them record lands. I am not calling them a dual land.
I'm just going to call them pathways because it's in the name.
Yeah, I call them a record land. Then you got the mythic cycle.
The mythic cycle.
The mythic cycle, which again are fine. I don't know if they're going to get a lot of constructed play.
They're going to see a huge amount of constructed play.
You think so? Outside of Commander?
Yes.
Okay.
There's no cost to put them in your deck. They're going to see play. The opportunity cost is very, very low. The ones that actually come in tapped all the time, it's much harder. But these, you can pay 3 life for them to be untapped. The opportunity lost cost is so low, and they have powerful effects.
I don't know. Some of them are better effects than others, though.
Yeah. Agadeem's Awakening, I think, is going to be one of the best. It's going to be a huge finisher. 6 mana, drop a 1/2 and 3 drop back on the board, depending on your format. That can end a game. So
Apparently Omnath's doing that.
That's fair. Also, yeah, and if we want to hit about any more of the mythics on the cycles, I was
looking at lands and artifacts.
Lands and artifacts. Oh, yeah, this is crazy.
I believe there's some shenanigans going on with this, but I didn't read about it.
No, I'm not sure.
Lithoform engine. Do you happen to know the details?
I do not know the details. I haven't. Okay. I believe you're doing something with like dual caster mages and some way to untap until you're stacking up.
Oh, I thought it was happening in standard. It's not happening in standard.
Maybe it is in standard.
Obviously, you can do a bunch in commander with it. I'm not even.
I heard somebody talking
going
about an older format and making essentially almost like infinite dual caster mages and. Myriad Construct looks cool for Commander.
Yeah, it's 4 mana for a 4/4 construct with a kicker of 3. If you kick it, it enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter for each non-basic land your opponents control.
Yeah.
Not too shabby necessarily in standard right now.
No, there's gonna.
What with these lands that we're playing that are spell lands are not basic.
There are a few cards you'll notice like this in the set that are specifically trying to pay you back for your opponents not playing basic lands. This one is better than a couple of the other ones, I think, because that can get pretty big.
Now, when it does become the target of a spell, you sacrifice it and create a number of 1/1 colorless construct artifact creature tokens equal to its power. So that's sort of a hangerback walker situation.
Yeah.
A little bit.
You
So maybe you go tall, but then they kill
Boom.
it and you go wide.
Yeah.
Maybe even you kill it.
Here we go. Joseph Michael Johnson, thank you. In Standard, you can use Nyx Lotus and Corridor Monitor. There we go. It's essentially Splinter Twin after you make 50 plus mana. Because Corridor Monitor will untap, the
50
artifact.
plus mana. Woo, yeah.
And then you just pick your poison on how you want to win with 50 plus mana.
I knew there was something going on.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what it was.
I'm glad somebody broke Nick's Lotus finally, though, because
yeah,
got Lotus in the name. It needs to.
It needed it. Here's another great commander card from the artifacts. Skyclave Relic. It's 3 mana with a kicker at 3. It's indestructible. And when it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, create 2 tapped tokens that are copies of Skyclave Relic. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. Now, they were really thinking ahead because for 3 mana, it's a rock, and it comes in untapped, indestructible. But if you kick it, you get 2 copies come in tapped.
Yeah. They were thinking ahead there, but I got to say, especially like for a commander, I guess you just play both, but you just kind of completely invalidated Darksteel Ingot, right? Because you gave us Darksteel Ingot that we can get 3 of when we it just seems good.
Yeah, it's just totally better than.
Yeah. I want to hit this other mythic dual face real quick because I just saw it. I remember that the green one, I think, is going to see some major play in some places, actually. The Turn Timber Symbiosis on the front side, 3 green and 4 sorcery. Look at the top 7 of your library, put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield. If it has converted mana cost 3 or less, it enters with an additional 3 +1/+1 counters. I think because it has the rider, if even your little creature gets pumped, you're going to see this in some big, some kind of deck I would play, some kind of big red-green monster or something that's going to try to be dropping as many things as possible with this. They're going to dig for that big
Maybe,
creature.
but it costs 7. I don't know. I know, and mana's easy to get. I know. Still,
I get it. I'm just saying that even if you whiff and hit a 2 or 3 drop, all of a sudden that 2 drops a 5/5. Like, that's a much better whiff than we've seen on those kind of effects in the past.
Let's take a look at a few black cards.
Yeah.
Of course, you got the party mechanic, which if you build around it, coveted prize. We talked about it before. It's a bomb. It's a potential 1 mana tutor cast cool card, you know, of 5 mana or less, or 4 mana or less.
I will agree with some people about the whole party thing on something like this, though, that it does feel kind of win more, because if I have a full party at this point, I'm probably ahead. I feel like this should close out the game, because I just tutored for whatever I wanted and cast it for free, so I should be closing out the game, I would think. But having a full party, that's why I don't like to think of these cards as getting the maximum benefit, because I think you're probably already in a pretty good position then.
Probably, but you still have to put yourself in that position to maintain it. So
that is absolutely correct.
We got another Drana. This makes like Drana 17.0 or something.
Something like that. Lots of Dranas.
We got 3-4 of her at least.
Yeah.
She's a flying 4/4 for 2 black and 3 vampire cleric, so she's going in my Athreos deck.
Yep.
Whenever Drana, the Last Blood Chief, attacks, defending player chooses a non-legendary creature card in your graveyard. Defending player. Mm-hmm. You return that card to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it, and it becomes a vampire in addition to its other types.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Want to hit Hagra Mauling here?
Sure.
This is another one of the modal double-faced, and this is another one that I was talking about, trying to give you a little bit of a payoff for your opponent not playing basics. It's not as good as I believe the Myriad Construct was, but this is a 2 black and 2 instant destroy target creature. But this spell costs 1 less to cast if an opponent controls no basic lands. So if they have absolutely no basics, it's a murder.
Right, but it's a rare murder.
Because it's a land on the other side.
Still, okay.
I just wanted to point it out because I mentioned being other thing. I think the Myriad Construct is the best payoff not playing basics. This seems I don't really care, to be honest.
I think all the inscriptions seem pretty good.
Yeah, I think the green one's obviously the best because it's instant, but...
So we got a black inscription, black and 2 with a kicker at 2 black and 2. Choose 1. If it was kicked, you get to choose any number. Target opponent discards 2. Return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and destroy target creature with the converted mana cost 3 or less. That one, is not as strong as the green one. I've seen it played a lot.
The green
last weekend.
Yeah.
And it was hella good.
Yeah. This one's okay.
I also got scared by the Nighthawk Scavenger. The illegitimate child of Vampire Nighthawk and
Tarmogoyf. Yeah. Black 1 for a 1+ star 3. Love seeing math problems on cards. So it's flying Death Touch Lifelink, and Nighthawk Scavenger's power is equal to 1 plus a number of card types among cards in your opponent's graveyards.
It scared me.
It can get big in a hurry if they've got that rogue deck.
It scared me.
going.
I had lots of flyers, but man, gaining 12 life. Ugh.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was on the mill plan, so
Right.
it worked out all right.
Well, if they got enough of that mill in their deck too, and all of a sudden that thing's pretty big when it hits because they've milled you a few times, and whoo.
And I mentioned Nissa a while ago. Man, if you open her, I don't see how you could stay away from her unless all your green and black is horrible.
Yeah.
Green, black, and 2. She's 4 loyalty. Landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, put a loyalty counter on Nissa.
When I first saw that, I was like, okay, she's not going to have a plus. That follows with a plus to go with it.
+1, untap target land you control. You may have it become a 3/3 elemental creature with haste and menace till end of turn, still a land.
Haste and menace.
And then a -5, you may put a creature card with converted mana costs less than or equal to the number of lands you control onto the battlefield from your hand or graveyard with 2 +1/+1 counters on it. For a -5, that seems totally fair.
If you wait, you can do that the turn you play her a lot.
Theoretically, yeah, you can. And I mean, if you're controlling 5, you can get most of the green fatties that you want.
Yeah. From hand or graveyard. I like. Null Priest of Oblivion. This guy's cool.
We're on my clerics right now. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah. Black and 1 for a vampire cleric. 2/1 with menace and lifelink. He has a kicker of a black and 3. When Null Priest of Oblivion enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Mm-hmm. Seems good.
You paid the 3 life to get rid of that cleric in my Athreos deck. Well, let me play this one.
I just a 2/1 menace lifelink for 2 is good. That's already good. I'll play that on curve on turn 2.
Yeah.
And then turn 6. Oh,
yeah.
Look.
Well, let me get something back.
You probably want to hit this cleric then.
Oh yeah, I did not pull one of these in anything I opened, so I'm looking for trades. Aura Skyclave Hierophant, black, white, and 2. Core Cleric, legendary lifelink.
Yeah.
Legendary lifelink. Whenever Aura Skyclave Hierophant or another cleric you control dies, or another, return target cleric card with lesser converted mana cost from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Oh, the loops you will do. You just need a Salak outlet on the board.
This card alone is causing me to put Drana, which is 5. Most of my clerics are cheap in the deck.
Yeah.
And it's causing me to put the Angel of Destiny in there because she's 5. Because this card exists and it will give me more stair steps.
Yeah. Oh, I sacked this one. Do you want to pay 3? But I'm going to bring another one back.
We need to move along. We're getting bogged down on black. We won't have a short show here.
Look. I like this guy. He's not much, but I do like this guy. We'll skip some of the big stuff there. Skyclave Shade. 3/1 for a black and 1. He does have kicker. He can't block. His kicker is a black and 2. If he was kicked, he enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters. This is what I like a lot, though. Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, if Skyclave Shade is in your graveyard and it's your turn, you may cast it from your graveyard this turn. I want to play this. I want to throw this in some commander decks and some stuff like that. That's great recurable value all game. I'm going to be dropping lands. I can cast my 3/1 again? Cool. Which one?
Well, I'm going to hit the last cleric here. Tabarex, Hope's Demise, black and 2, legendary creature, demon cleric. Mm-hmm. It's a 2/2 for 3 with flying. Has lifelink as long as it has 5 or more +1/+1 counters on it. How do you get those counters on there, Darren?
Oh,
Well, whenever another non-token creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Taborax. If that creature was a cleric, you may draw a card. If you do, lose a life. Sounds good in my cleric deck.
yeah. Oh, Tabby.
You pay the 3? Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Zagreus, Thief of Heartbeats. This guy's kind of cool. They've been pushing this in the last couple sets, trying to make this a thing. He's a vampire rogue. He's a 4/4 for a red, a black, and 4. But he costs 1 less to cast for each creature in your party. He has flying, death touch, haste. So lots of keywords there. They've been loving tripling up on keywords. But this is what's interesting. They've been pushing this, trying to make death touch tribal real. This says all other creatures you control have death touch. And whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a planeswalker, destroy that planeswalker. So not only do they have death touch, they have planeswalker death touch. We had a card in the last set that whenever a creature with death touch did something.
Yeah.
They've been trying to make like keyword tribal more of a thing recently. And I actually think he's expensive, but I think he's not bad.
Are we talking about this? You've been on the rogue train.
I have been on the rogue train. Zareth San, I think I talked about him a couple weeks ago, but Rogue Jitsu's just cool, guys. Zareth San, the Trickster. He's a black, a blue, 3 generic for a 4/4 Merfolk Rogue with Flash.
That's not a bad rate. Right there. That's not bad.
But you should never cast him. You're doing it wrong. For a black, a blue, and 2, return an unblocked attacking rogue you control to its owner's hand. Put Zareth San, the Trickster, from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Oh, I get to get in for 4 for free. That's cool. Well, for 4 man, I get to get in for 4. That's pretty sweet. Oh, there's more text. Whenever Zareth San deals combat damage to a player, you may put target permanent card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Oh, so for 4 mana, I get to hit them for 4 and take something from their graveyard. Wow, I hope there's stuff in their graveyard. Wait, rogues. That means I'm already milling. This seems good. It seems like a
Black
good
and
setup.
blue, mill and discard is going to dump stuff in the yard.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a thing.
It's gonna be pretty good. I'm ready to see that. So, getting to the blue stuff here.
Yeah, we're going to have to pick it up.
We're gonna pick it up through the blue stuff because
We don't like blue. We're not going to talk about the freaking 017. We talked about him last week or the week before. So, moving along.
right. I want to hit this guy.
Glass pool.
Yeah, I got a clone deck now. I want to hit the clone because he's a 3 mana clone. So a blue and 2 glass pool mimic. He's a shapeshifter rogue, and as he enters the battlefield as a copy of a creature, you except it's a shapeshifter rogue in addition to its other types. And on the other side,
I'm on clerics. He's on rogues.
right on the other side, it's a land that comes into play tap for a blue. It only can only copy your own stuff, but in my commander deck that's clones, I already have clones of their good stuff, so I can make another. So I'm okay with that.
We should probably mention Jace, Mirror Mage, 2 blue and 1. Comes in with 4 loyalty. He's got a kicker of 2. When he enters the battlefield, if Jace is kicked, create a token. That's a copy of Jace Mirror Mage, except it's not legendary, and its starting loyalty is 1. For a +1, you get to scry 2. Mm-hmm. And for a 0, draw a card and reveal it. Remove a number of loyalty counters equal to that card's converted mana cost from Jace Mirror Mage. I see lots of shenanigans possible.
Yep.
Whether it's good or not, I don't know. But I see lots of shenanigans possible with this.
I just like the design space of kicker on a planeswalker. That seems cool. I don't know how good the card will be, but I like that idea. You want to hit the mill card of all mill cards in the set real quick?
Sure.
Maddening.
The Commander Mill card.
Yeah, the Commander mill card. Maddening, and I'm not going to say the
Cacophony?
word.
The old man knows.
Blue and 1, sorcery. Each opponent mills a kicker of a blue and 3. And if this spell was kicked, instead, each opponent mills half their library, rounded up. Seems good. Seems good. If you got a way to copy that, you win. Because it's rounded up.
There you go. I guess it's time, 'cause he showed up under blue.
Yeah.
We should talk about the Boogie Boo. And that's Omnath, Lord of Creation. A blue, white, green, and red. He didn't show up under black when we were looking there. But he's a 4/4 elemental for 4. When he enters the battlefield, draw a card. Seems good. He replaces himself for 4 mana. That's a little expensive to cycle, but okay. But he's on the field.
There's more.
Landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 4 life. If this is the first time this ability is resolved this turn. If it's the second time, you add the 4 colors of his of him, the blue, black, or blue, white, green, red.
Right.
If it's a third time, Omnath deals 4 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker you don't control. So trip out on the landfalls and have some good old times.
Yeah. He apparently, I thought this was the coolest card ever when it first got spoiled. Like, that's cool design. And, 4 color and 3 landfall triggers. Hopefully apparently it's way too easy and that apparently it's not as hard as I thought it was going to be. So
I thought I'd talk real quick. Thieving Skydiver, blue and 1. I like this design.
Yeah.
I think it's decent. We'll see. Kicker X, and X can't be 0. It's a flyer, 2/1 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, gain control of target artifact with inverted mana cost X or less. If that artifact is an equipment, attach it to Thieving Skydiver. Got to play this last weekend at the pre-release. Got to kick it 1 time and still an equipment and swing for extra damage.
Oh, very nice.
Pretty nice.
Yeah.
Because you get to keep that too. Not just till he's gone away. You get to keep that equipment till the end of the game.
Yeah.
Unless they've got a Thieving Skydiver.
That thing's going to get vintage play, though. So, stealing a Mox for 3 mana or something seems not bad.
Yeah, because it is extra less, but you still have to pay a mana.
You still have to pay at least 1, but...
Still have to pay a mana.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I see that thing causing shenanigans in lots of places just because artifacts are powerful in the history of Magic. So... Especially cheap ones. There are several powerful cheap ones.
There are. Green, I'll try to reserve my comments here.
Do you just want to gush on the first one or the second? Where do you want to start here? I'll hit the first one if you don't want it.
Go ahead.
Ancient Green Warden, a.k.a. Land Harmonicon. He is 2 green and 4 for a 5/7 elemental with reach. You'll forget that part, but he has reach. You may play lands from your graveyard. If a land entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time.
Overkill, but think of that with Omnath.
Yeah, right? I mean, just...
The first time this would happen, it happens twice. The second time, it happens twice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we got...
I wonder why there's such a trouble with these ramp cards in this landfall.
Ashaya, Soul of the Wild, 2 green and 3. It's a legendary creature, elemental, star.
Uh-huh.
Power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. Non-token creatures you control are forest lands in addition to their other types.
What?
Non-token creatures you
I
control
gotcha.
are forest lands.
I gotcha.
Still affected by summoning sickness.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean... I can see how this could be good.
Yeah, it should be good. I'm glad. I don't care. It's not as bad as the ones we've seen in the past, but they gave us our other hexproof can't be countered green beater, but they made this one cost 7. It's a 6
haste.
It has haste though, but Cragplate Baloth is a 6/6 beast for 2 green and 5. Can't be countered hexproof haste, but it does also have kicker for a green and 2 if you just want to spend 10 mana. And if it was kicked, it enters with 4+1/+1 counter. So 10 mana is a 10/10 uncounterable hexproof haste.
But no trample. I would trade...
A lot of that?
I would trade the haste for trample. I don't know that I want to trade the hexproof. But I would trade the haste for the trample. And we got to talk about Inscription of Abundance. That's a green and 1 instant with a kicker of a green and 2. So 5 little mana is all it takes.
It's the cheapest of the cycle and the only instant of the cycle.
Choose one. Cycle. You get to choose all of them. You know, any number if you want if you kicked it. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. That's worth like 2 mana. A mana and a half.
Yeah.
Target player gains X life, where X is the greatest power among creatures they control. So you got to have something, you know.
Also worth mana and a half, 2 mana, yeah.
And then target creature you control fights target creature you don't control.
roughly a 2-mana effect.
Seems pretty good. I don't think we need to talk about Lotus Cobra. It's a rerun, so we've been there.
Yep.
We talked about her and him.
I'll hit Phylath real quick. Our new Avenger Zendikar Light, essentially.
Well, is he light? He goes tall, not wide?
He goes tall, not wide. He's a green, a red 4 for a legendary elemental, 5/5. When Phylath World Sculptor enters the battlefield, create an 0/1 green plant creature token for each basic land you control. And then he has Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put 4 +1/+1 counters on target plant you control. I think he's still good. I think he's really good.
I do too.
I'm probably going to find a way to try to play him, so...
and then I guess we don't want to talk about the Scoot Swarm.
The Scoot Swarm, since it's...
Green and 1 insect that's a 1/1 with landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 green insect creature token. If you control 6 or more lands, create a token that's a copy of Scoot Swarm instead. So once you get to 6 lands, you're not making 1/1 green insects. You're making 1/1 green insects. These 1/1 green insects will also trigger with landfall to make copies of 1/1 green insects.
And if we hadn't mentioned it a time or two, ramping out lands is really easy right now. So eventually you have an exponential number of 1/1 green insects. Talked about that.
Are we good to keep going?
I think we're good to keep going.
We still got red and white.
We got red and white. We got to hit Boros still. We're going to make it to a full episode, it looks. Close. Red's got a few here. I'll try not to gush too long on red. But
it's always hard to tell when we're doing these kind of review-like things how much time it's going to take. All right, lead us off here, Boros man.
I'll take Akiri, Fearless Voyager. She's a white, a red, and 1 for a legendary core warrior. She's a 3/3. Whenever you attack a player with 1 or more equipped creatures, draw a card. Okay, pretty good. Boros trying to do that equipment thing. White mana, you may unattach an equipment from a creature you control. If you do, tap that creature and it gains indestructible until end of turn. It's not bad. It's another good effect. I don't know if it's crazy, but I think it's good.
Maybe Leyline Tyrant's a little bit better.
Leyline Tyrant. There we go.
2 red and 2. It's a 4/4 dragon that flies. Whoever heard of that? You don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end.
By the way, if you're dumb like me, guys, that means turns too. So
when Leyline Tyrant dies, you may it deals that much damage to any target. That includes players, planeswalkers, creatures.
Yeah,
their enchantments.
If you feel like
their emblems can take damage. No, you can't do those things.
That's a good card. That's a heck of a finisher. It's essentially, I feel like if I play some kind of big red deck with this, if I stick 1, I maybe don't need to cast anything else. Like I just dump my mana into it every turn and wait for them to kill it, right? Or I swing for 4.
You better hope they don't exile it.
That is true.
That's an out. It's got to die.
Yeah.
You better have a sack outlet ready.
We got Morog here. This one's really good, but I gotta hit Morog. It's more important.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about him. So
Fury of Akum. He is 2 red and 4. Legendary Minotaur Warrior 6/6. Each creature you control gets +1/+0 for each time it is attacked this turn. Well, that's odd text. Each time it's attacked this turn. Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, if it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase. At the beginning of that combat, untap all creatures you control. So guys, you can't play that land on your first main phase. I want to correct you all now before you make a mistake and you don't get a second attack. You need to attack, go to your second main, then make your land drops. Because you don't... Yeah. At the beginning of that combat, untap all the creatures you control. And then your creatures would be tapped for your normal combat phase. If you play it in your first main. So, I just wanted to point that out, because that could be a thing for somebody.
I don't know if this is any good, but I'm going to throw this out there. Nahiri's Lithoforming. 2 red and X. It's a sorcery. You sacrifice X lands. For each land sacrificed this way, draw a card. You may play X additional lands this turn. Lands you control enter the battlefield tapped. Now, I don't know. I mean, I think in terms of Commander more than I do Standard and other things.
Right.
But it seems like a good way to get rid of excess lands to refill your hand, potentially, if you stall out in your red deck. But I don't know if it's worth playing.
I think it's pretty good. I think it can enable some things. This is a red scape shift, as close as red is going to get to a scape shift kind of effect. We want to... We'll hit the red mythic real quick, I guess. Shatter Skull Smashing. Because it's the cheapest of the mythic modals.
Oh, yeah.
It's 2 red and X for a sorcery. And Shatter Skull Smashing deals X damage divided as you choose among up to 2 target creatures and or planeswalkers. If X is 6 or more, Shatter Skull Smashing deals twice X damage divided as you choose among them. It's kind of cool that they chose 6 or more, because if you pay 6 or more, then that means you're paying more than what all the others cost, so you get an additional effect. Because they mostly all cost 7.
I see.
So,
okay.
But it's... The fact that it's on a land makes it playable, I think.
So...
You want to talk about Wayward Guide Beast real quick? Is this any good? I play aggro. You don't want to play this turn 1, but is this any good?
I played it last weekend, and my opponent did the wrong thing by killing it. But I had hit them for 6 by the time they killed it. So I think they just wanted... But they had 3 lands on the field, and I had 0.
Right. You just kept...
I just kept... It's like, I want to see if this thing's any good. Well, it drew removal. But then, you know, I had to catch up after that. So, I don't know. It's a red for a 2/2 trample haste beast. And when it deals combat damage to a player, return a land you control to its owner's hand. I think it could be really good later on to bounce some of those spell lands back to your hand and get a new use out of them.
That's fair. That's fair. I keep looking at it going, a 1/1 or a 1 mana 2/2 trample haste. That's a pretty big drawback. Is, you know, can I make this card playable? So I just haven't been able to decide.
We've also got the nods to Valakut Awakening, red and 2, that it's an instant, plus it's got a land on the other side. Put any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your library, then draw that many cards plus 1. So it's letting you trade up, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then Valakut Exploration, which is an enchantment, a red and 2. It has landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled. I played that last weekend.
Did ya?
At the beginning of your end step, if there are cards Valakut Exploration, put them into their owner's graveyard, then Valakut Exploration deals that much damage to each opponent. So I did, and it gave you some pseudo draw that Red's been getting the last few years, and it gave you some extra damage to hit your opponent with. If it was too expensive, I couldn't play it. They were going to take a point. If it was something that just wasn't relevant, a combat trick that I couldn't use or whatever, it still hit them for a point.
I think one of the most interesting things about that card is that at the end of the turn, it puts them into your graveyard. They don't stay exiled, which is a new thing for that red impulsive draw. Red doesn't have a lot of way to try to pull things out of graveyards and stuff, but the fact that they do go back to the graveyard instead of exiled forever, I think is a design step, a new step in design for Red. So,
oops. I goofed somewhere.
It's all right.
Uh-oh.
We'll get on to white. I'll hit the white mythic land first. That is Amiria's Call and Amiria's Awakening. So I'm missing on one of those. One of those is an old card. One of those is this card. But it's a 3 white 4 for a sorcery on the front that creates 2/4/4 flying vigilance angel warriors. I think they have vigilance. I know they are angel warriors because they do trigger party as well. But they're pretty good because it's a land on the other side. It's a heck of a finisher.
I've lost my foo, man. I've lost my food. Keep talking. Pretend you know what's going on.
We also Skyclave Apparition. I think I talked about that a little bit last week in the rare slot. This is the new O-ring like effect that hits stuff that's. I think that's a rare, right?
Don't be talking to me. I'm trying to type stuff in.
But you exile target non-land permanent opponent controls with converted a mana cost 4 or less. And then when a Skyclave Apparition dies, they get back a XX creature where X is equal, an XX construct where X is equal to that card's converted mana cost. Which is really good removal, I believe.
I've got it pulled up now if you want to check that you haven't been lying to folks that are patiently waiting.
Skyclave Apparition, it is a rare. It's right there.
Okay.
And one of my favorite, I'm going to hit here since I'm on them still. This may be one of the best control finishers and just out there. Felidar Retreat. If you're in some kind of white control, I think this is just great. A white and 3 enchantment with landfall. Land enters the battlefield under your control. Choose one. Create a 2/2 white cat beast creature token. Alright, I can make a board state. Or put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain vigilance until end of turn. Those are +1/+1 counters to all the creatures and vigilance.
Yeah.
That's
This is better than the retreat. In my opinion, this is better.
It's really good.
I'll tell you something that really impressed me last weekend is this Luminarch Aspirant for a white and 1. It's a 1/1 human cleric. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. That thing, if I didn't have a way to kill it, it just slowly ate me alive.
It just stacks.
It just whatever their best creature was just got better every combat step. Whatever their best thing was just got better every combat step. So if I couldn't kill that, it just slowly grew out of control. I felt like that was a really good card. Again, I don't know about constructed playable, but in limited, man, it just ate me alive. Twice I faced that. 2 different people. And it's like, whew, I gotta kill that thing.
Yeah. It's just a 1/1. Unless, for the first turn anyway, unless they keep putting the counters on it.
No, at the beginning of combat. Play it in your first main, go to combat, it's a 2/2. It can't attack.
Yeah.
But it's a 2/2 on turn 1 or on turn 2 when they cast it. If they don't have something else to put it on.
I'll hit Maul of the Skyclaves real quick. We haven't talked about many of the equipments, and I think this white rare one's actually one of the really good ones. It's a white and 2, like all the equipment in the set. It enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. But the equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has flying and first strike. That's really good, I think. I mean, the equip cost is 2 white and 2 if that creature that it's on gets killed, but that first time down, you've just made a creature.
Yes, you're right, but that equip cost is very rough.
Right. In my aggro mind, I like a lot of aggro stuff. I don't care about that equip cost. This is essentially an aura to me that.
Maybe there's something we can flicker with that.
That's going to do some work. So that's, I think, the best of the white stuff, really. I don't know. Is there another one you want to hit on?
Well, did we talk about Angel of Destiny?
I did not talk about Angel of Destiny. That's it. I was leaving clerics for you.
2 white and 3. It's a 2/6 flying double strike, so it's kind of like a 4 power.
Right.
Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you and that player each gain that much life.
Which means they stay at the same life, effectively.
At the beginning of your end step, if you have at least 15 life more than your starting life total, each player Angel of Destiny attacked this turn loses a game. I've got to figure out how to get extra combat.
Ooh, yeah, that's gonna be a little rough.
So anyway, I think we've made it through, guys, and we're hitting right at an hour, I think. So
I said that they essentially don't lose any life, but I do want to point out if for some reason you've able to swing enough to get them in one swing, they will still die because they are going to take that damage and hit 0 before they would ever gain that life. So if you have enough power on the board to get through to kill them, they're still going to lose before they ever gain the life from her ability, if you can actually take them to 0 with the initial.
All right, so I think we've reached the end.
Yep.
I appreciate everybody hanging in there. Remember, next week we're changing up here with the mask and everything. But we're still going to be doing events, just to be a little bit different.
Be a little different, but I hope everybody's still able to make it out. I hope you guys.
We're trying to be safe. We want to. We are a mom and pop shop. If I were to get sick with this thing, this place would close up. It just would. So I've got to try to take care of me and you and everybody else who comes in here, and this is the best way I can figure to do it. So I appreciate all you guys.
Yep. I hope I hope to see you guys in here. We're still gonna play when we can. Hope you guys are able to get together at home and play some Commander with some folks. We'll still have it
When
Thursday 6 to 9.
When things get better, we'll change.
Back.
We'll change.
We'll be back.
We'll be back to normal.
Yep.
But we got to get better first.
Yep. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And don't forget to head on down to Grove Gamers Guild,
where everybody knows your game.